Well, if I have a shit-eating grin on my face today, that's because I have the absolute pleasure of saying, I told you so. The polls are updated and the Conservatives have skyrocketed. They have leapfrogged ahead of everybody else. This is insane. My projections have come true, folks. This is why you should like videos like this, subscribe to this channel, and turn on post notifications because your boy Mr. Sunshine is right. Welcome back to another video, everybody. We're talking about wacko prime minister in this wacko world. And speaking of wackos, limited edition stickers are for sale. Link down in the description or the pinned comment below. Wacko Trudeau has to go get yours before it is off the shelves almost permanently. All right, folks, let's take a look at this chef's kiss beautiful polls. I said the closer we get, the closer that we get to the summer break, the more you're going to see the polls climb to 220. And booyaka, booyaka. They are at 220 with a bottom line of 192, top end of 238. Holy crap. We are still a few weeks, like I think 8, 9, 10 weeks away from the summer break. There is a lot more time for the Conservatives to jump well above 220. In fact, this happened quite a bit sooner than I anticipated. You have 99% odds of winning the most seats and 99% likely of winning a majority government. And in fact, it's getting so significantly worse for the Liberals that I think that this recent stunt that happened today is going to bump up the NDPs not a lot. I guarantee you not a lot, but everybody who loves the virtue signal, all those radical woke liberals, right, on the crazy left side of the spectrum, are now looking at the NDP going, oh, yes, you guys are the progressive party that I want to participate in. We're going to take a look at that and much more in this video, so I highly recommend you guys stick around for the full thing if you can. And without further ado, let's get into this video. First up, we have Garnet Genius, who has this to say on X. Breaking news. Trudeau must release all contracts he has signed for his taxpayer-funded hard drug program. Trudeau is sending your tax dollars to Big Pharma for dangerous and deadly drugs. Conservatives believes in treatment and recovery, not deadly drugs. And here is the motion that has been tabled. Order the production of all contracts, agreements, and memoranda of understanding to which the Government of Canada is a party signed since January 1st, 2016 concerning the purchase, acquisitions, or transfer of Dilaudid or any generic form of hydromorphone for use in any safe supply program. This is wild. The Conservatives have just been, I don't want to say attacking Justin Trudeau, but they're doing their job. And I think that they're doing a pretty good job of it so far. And I'd like to know what you guys think down below in the comments of the poll updates and of the Conservatives still going after Trudeau to hold him accountable. Here, next up, we have Kat Canada on X saying immigrants will now get free admission to all places administered by Parks Canada, but Canadians will not. So this story comes in light of the news where immigrants within their first year, they have a one-year window of opportunity from when they immigrate here, that they get free admission to Parks Canada and museums as part of a progressive way of trying to encourage immigrants to be more involved and cultured in Canadian culture. Because, I mean, we do have a tremendous amount of parks here in Canada, and it's awesome, man. Canada's got like some of the most beautiful land in the world, and museums is also part of that program to incentivize new immigrants to learn about Canada and learn about our Canadian culture. Now, the museums thing is special to immigrants, from my understanding, within their first year. The parks thing is not just special to immigrants. The parks thing also applies to veterans, I think, still serving, or if you've been released or whatever it is, or you're retired, because Canada wants to incentivize veterans with nice things, nice gestures. So it's immigrants and veterans who get parks admission, but then immigrants above and beyond that get museums. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. There seems to be a lot of outrage about this on X. I mean, a lot of people are going, wow, man, I've lived here my whole life and I don't get shit. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Maybe you leave and maybe you come back. Maybe you get some. I don't know. Let me know down below in the comments. Next up, we have this video here of why everyone is leaving Canada. Honest answers only. Let's take a look at this.
So the high cost of living is just one reason more Canadians are choosing to live abroad. There's a spike in the number of people making a move. CTV's Kamal Karamali tells us which countries have the biggest Canadian expat populations and what challenges they face when they move.
More and more Canadians are waving goodbye to their homeland.
For the size of our population, there's a huge amount of Canadians kind of no matter where I go.
And moving abroad, uprooting for reasons including housing and healthcare.
I've been priced out of my own country, and on top of that, the waits for services, for example, especially medical services, is really, really pathetic.
The latest.
It is, man. It is. Like, I personally don't have a family doctor. My pregnant wife doesn't have a family doctor, and we've already had one kid without her having a family doctor. It's wild what is happening here in Canada. You don't even have the option to buy yourself into having a family doctor, like, because there's no private healthcare system. We don't have a two-tiered healthcare system, so a lot of people have to flock to Mexico and stuff to be able to pay for healthcare, to expedite certain procedures, certain things like that. But a lot of people are just choosing to leave Canada as a whole. And I want to know down in the comments before I click play on this, have you ever thought about leaving Canada? Have you left Canada? If so, where are you thinking of going, or where have you gone?
This data estimates around 4 million Canadians live abroad, roughly 11% of the country's population. That number a huge increase, a 36% jump from the number of Canadians who lived elsewhere in 1990. More than 1 million Canadians, that's over 1/3, live in the U.S.,
Wow.
with 300,000 in Hong Kong and more than 70,000 in the United Kingdom.
It's much more difficult to climb up in Canada than it is in the United States.
Greg Luz moved to California and hasn't looked back. Do you feel forgotten?
I mean, California is not much better.
It didn't affect me in any way. But again, there's no two-way connection.
The report from McGill Institute for the Study of Canada says Canadians abroad have received little attention, from consular services to healthcare, taxation, and community building. The diaspora has been largely left to its own devices.
Canadian posts overseas need to upgrade their services. They need to put more staff in there.
But others argue the onus is on the individual.
You would almost
I mean, the taxes are so freaking ridiculous in Canada, and they're only getting worse. Just financially speaking, there's way more incentives to go almost literally anywhere else in the world to try and keep your money and, create some sort of wealth or take care of your family or even yourself. But I'd love to know down in the comments, have you guys ever thought about leaving? Let me know. I think I'm in here for the long run, man. I love Canada. I love it. And I do think that we can vote ourselves out of this at the next scheduled federal election, 2025. Fingers crossed. I'm super optimistic. I'm just so naively optimistic that something is going to happen before 2025. A snap election, coalition collapse, who knows? But anyways, that leads me into this next story here, where there are rumors that Justin Trudeau will soon be replaced as leader of the Liberal Party due to its polling numbers and the fact that he's one of the most hated people on the planet. If this is true, who do you think will replace him and why? So this obviously is in light of this MP right here, who there's speculation as to him taking over Justin Trudeau's spot, which I don't really know if that's going to happen. I do know that if Trudeau steps down, Deputy Finance Minister Keffiyeh Freeland does take his place, and then all of a sudden we got Mr. Speaker as Prime Minister. And is it going to be another Kim Campbell situation where, there's a woman as PM, but for a couple of months? I don't know, man. I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see how this pans out. Next up, we have a video from Wall Street Silver here on X saying Trudeau blames the economy, the coup, not enough immigration. Not enough immigration. Harper and Pierre for the housing crisis. He'll blame literally everything but himself.
2024, it's 850,000, beyond the reach of many people. What happened? How did governments let this happen?
Boy, we could talk about the global economy, the inflation crisis that came from the fact that we had a once-in-a-century pandemic that had a huge impact on all of our lives. We could talk about the labor shortages that we're facing that continue to mean we need to grow our population. We're to continue to talk about inflation's crisis around the world that has led to higher interest rates that have slowed things down. We can talk about the fact that Canada has only about 4% affordable housing stock across the country, whereas comparable countries like France or the UK have in the range of 17 or 18% affordable housing. Decisions taken by governments of all stripes over decades have led to this moment. Particularly the previous government, in which Pierre Poilievre was actually housing minister, that explicitly said the federal government should have absolutely nothing to do with building affordable housing or creating affordable housing.
Look, Canada's not the only place that's unaffordable. You got France, you have the UK, where housing has just gone so radically insane that people are forced to either evacuate, they're forced to live in perpetual debt, or they're forced to live on the streets. I mean, there's a rise in homelessness in Canada, in the UK, in France. Yeah, there's a lot of external factors outside of the country that has affected that. But most importantly, a country's leadership is ultimately what determines how a country's economy is gonna go. And our captain, right, our capitaine right here, Justin Trudeau, and in France, Macron, and in the UK, unfortunately, all of these leaders are absolute shite, and our economies are suffering. Not to mention all the craziness that's happening with immigration in the UK, which is now also happening here in Canada.
It's not rocket science to see that decisions, particularly in something like a housing market, that are taken years ago have impacts for years, for decades, for generations to come. So the question we have to ask is, given absolutely the fact that there is a crisis in housing right now, and that crisis is best defined by the fact that these young people who are working incredibly hard, many of them at great jobs, don't have the same opportunities that Canadians in their position just 20 years ago would have to be able to buy a home. There's something wrong with the way the system is built.
Yeah, the way that you are running the system, buddy boy. I mean, I had no idea. I had no that Stephen Harper had such an influence on the UK market, the France market, Ireland, Scottish market, everything. I had no idea that Stephen Harper had his hands in all that. Oh, no, wait, he didn't. No. So why is Justin Trudeau always blaming Stephen Harper for stupidity? Justin Trudeau is responsible for steering the ship. He's our capitaine, and he's doing a horrible job. And he's not the only leader. There are other country leaders, like I just mentioned, that are absolutely doing a horrible job. And then you have even other countries where their leaders have resigned. Like, if I'm not mistaken, the Ireland and Scotland, I believe that those guys resigned, right? Because people are waking up to what is happening, and they're adding a lot of social pressure to everything that's going on. And speaking of social pressure, holy actual shit, today is insane day. You have virtue signalers left, right, and center out in Ontario here. So for those who don't know, this scarf, the Keffiyeh, this scarf, this Arabic scarf. Now look, I made a dedicated video about this on Mr. Sunshine Extra. I talked about this, breaking news, right when it happened, boom, video went up. But we're going to talk about it again because it's just, I need to use this platform of almost 400,000 subscribers to share what the hell is happening. So this Keffiyeh scarf it's Arabic, it's an Arabic scarf. And it has ties to standing in solidarity with Palestine, right? So this is the Ontario Legislature building, and it's been banned. It's been banned in those doors, in the chamber doors, right? The equivalent of what it would be in Parliament. You can't wear it in the House of Commons, but you can wear it in, the corridors, basically. Well, some people didn't like that. Some people really didn't like that. Of course, the NDP didn't like that. So you have 3 MPPs got kicked out for wearing the Keffiyeh, and they speak to reporters. Kristen Wong-Tam from the NDP implies this is just the beginning, and more NDP members will wear the Keffiyehs in the coming days. They're not satisfied with the speaker scaling back the ban to just the chambers. They want to wear other countries' politicized, I want to say merch. Oh, geez, I'm so freaking stuck on the merch. By the way, if you want one of these stickers, link down in the description and pinned comment below. They're stuck wearing other countries' paraphernalia, right? These scarves that represent other countries' politics. And of course, you can't ignore what's happening with Palestine right now. Palestinian protests are breaking out. They're taking over universities in Canada. They're taking over universities in America. It's insane. And people aren't satisfied with that. Woke virtue signaling members of parliament are now bringing that, I don't want to say crap, but that stuff into the provincial parliament or legislative building and to their version of federal question period. And of course, the NDPs at the federal level have also been doing the same thing, but it's not banned at the federal level. It's wild, man. It's wild what's happening. Let's keep taking a look at this story here. NDP MPPs Kristen Wong and Joel Hardin wore Keffiyehs in the legislature today and rose to leave as the speaker began to warn Hardin. And this individual right here in the wheelchair, MPP Jama, wore as well and was named, which means that they were kicked out. I covered that in the video on Mr. Sunshine Extra, where the House Speaker, right, for the provincial stuff said, okay, we're asking you to take it off. We're asking you to remove it. Individual in question didn't and then got kicked out. And two NDPs, we stand in solidarity. Well, this MP right here, we see him all the time in question period. He's always wearing this, virtue signaling, which is insane. Because if either of these two people went to Palestine with their woke ideologies, they would be kicked out and dragged through the streets, likely. It's insane. Within a week, it's insane. And then not to mention all of these tents that are matching. Who's funding this? Who is funding this? Look, I'm not against other cultures in Canada. In fact, I lived in Toronto for the majority of my adolescence and turning into a young man life, okay? And I used to love going down to Chinatown, Little Italy, Greek Town, right? All those places in Toronto, that these little pockets of cultures, and you get to learn about the cultures. You get to have Jamaican patties and all that stuff, and it was awesome, man. It was awesome. I learned a lot about cultures through the food and through all of the festivals that happened. But here's the issue that a lot of Canadians have, and there's actual rules in place to prevent this from happening, is taking the politicization of other cultures and bringing it into our politics. Canada's values, Canada's people, Canada's borders should be first, and fucking first. And these woke-ass MPs are virtue signaling, going, we have to be empathetic, we have to support this, we have to support that. And yeah, you can do that in your spare time. But in Canada, in our legislature, in our parliament buildings, a sacred temple, so to speak, right? It should be Canada, 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 Canada. We have a lot of trade deals with other countries. We have a lot of negotiations with other countries. We have a lot of celebrations of other countries here in Canada that our federal MPs, our provincial MPs, people from coast to coast to coast like to participate in. But that does not mean that you should be taking politicization of other countries and their stuff and bringing it into our parliament buildings. Full stop. Canada, 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 Canada. And guess what? Canada should be the main priorities when you're talking or when you're in Canadian politics. That, I don't know, maybe I'm gone down a rabbit hole. Maybe I accidentally had a red pill. Who knows? I don't know what's going on, but please correct me if you think I'm stepping out of bounds in the comment section, because this stuff is getting out of control. Now I'm going to share a video that I shared on Mr. Sunshine Extra, but again, 400,000, almost 400,000 subscribers on this platform versus, for 13 or 14,000 on the Extra channel. I need to share it again here.
It's an article of clothing that's now at the center of debate, division, and dissent. The question at Queen's Park: should the Keffiyeh, a cultural piece of clothing that some believe has political undertones, be allowed to be worn inside the legislature? The Speaker of the legislature, Ted Arnott, decided to ban it from Queen's Park, believing it to be political.
The Keffiyehs are a political statement, in my opinion.
That decision caused backlash, and every provincial party called on the Speaker to reverse it.
It really comes down to uniting Ontarians and communities. We see the division right now that's going on. it's not healthy, and this would just divide the community even more.
Back at Queen's Park, the NDP tabled a motion asking the entire legislature to rescind the ban.
That this House acknowledge that the keffiyeh is a culturally significant clothing item to many in Ontario's Palestinian, Muslim, and Arab communities.
But moments later,
Agreed? I heard some no's.
the motion was defeated and the ban was upheld. The person who said no, a progressive conservative in open defiance of the Premier.
The decision was the correct decision in my view. We have to follow the rules of the legislature. Otherwise, we politicize the entire debate inside the legislature, and that's not what it's about.
The government has now fallen silent on the issue, but critics say it's a sign of division in the Premier's ranks.
I think it's very significant that she's defied her, the leader of her own party.
As for the ban, it's unclear when or if it'll be reversed.
I do not think that it's within the best interest of the provincial government to reverse the ban. I think that the ban should stay in place. And that's not any disrespect to the Palestinian people or the Palestinian cultures. You guys have your culture. Absolutely. You also have, your own government. Sort of. Canada should be about Canada. And I don't think that we should be bringing that into our parliament buildings. That's all. That's like on the public stage or on the public debating stage. I really don't think that that's a good idea, because if you let that happen now, it's going to keep happening. And all of a sudden it's going to become this platform to virtue signal and to bring awareness to other places, other countries, and politicize things. And it's just, it's not going to stop. You can't really make exceptions to the rule now, because it's happening now. People down the road are going to want to make exceptions to the rule, and that's inevitably how things crumble. Is if you make exceptions to the rules, things fall out of place, and then you have stuff like this. But I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. And please, if I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, if I haven't had enough coffee today and I'm overstepping and I'm out of line, please correct me down below in the comments, because I'm open to other people's opinions. Absolutely. But in this moment right now, as of recording this, I do think that the ban should stay in place. Ladies and gentlemen, that's where we're going to end today's video. I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments of the virtue signaling, of the update in the polls, and everything else in between that we covered in this video. On your way out, I'd like to encourage you guys one more time to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. And I hope you consider turning post notifications by this point, because you're not going to want to miss any of these updates. I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.